Hello and welcome to our Learning Lab, 5 key steps for building a successful transition to digital brokerage technology. In this session, you will hear from Tom Curie and Prasad Galopoli on why digitizing operations should be a priority for brokers and some best practices for developing and executing an effective digital transformation plan. Now I'd like to welcome our speakers today. First, we have Tom Curie, the Senior Vice President of Strategy and Innovation at Kingsgate Logistics, with over 15 years of experience in the industry. Next, we have Prasad Galopoli, founder and CEO of Trucker Tools, with over 20 years of experience in the industry. Now I will hand it over to Prasad to get us started. Enjoy the session.
Thanks, Tracy. Again, welcome everyone to our learning session today. And before we get started in our discussion, I want to take a couple of just slides to set the stage of where we are coming from. Trucker Tools is a software platform that provides real-time visibility and digital freight matching solutions to 3PLs and brokers. Primarily, the whole platform is centered around our mobile app, Trucker Tools app, with over 165,000 small carriers already adopted to the platform. Now, with that background, I'm going to jump right into our conversation. So, Tom, this digital transformation, where should someone start? If you're a broker or a 3PL, where would you start?
Yeah, so I feel like we can speak a little bit to this because we've gone through that process. I've been with the Kingsgate family here for almost 5 years now. And we were kind of faced with this idea of really leaning into technology. And where do we start? We had early conversations about, well, what kind of team members do we need, and what kind of technology do we need, and all of these conversations as you really start leaning in to what you want to do in the space. And I think one of the first things that you have to really evaluate is, who are you as an organization? What is it that you actually really want to accomplish? I think a lot of people can fall into the trap of trying to look like everybody else. And I think you start by evaluating, hey, what are we good at? What are our strengths? And then how can we leverage technology to make us stronger? I'm a big strengths finders guy, so I believe in the process of not only working on someone's weaknesses, but working on their strengths. And so what are your strengths? And then how do you really start that process to go in and say, okay, how can we become stronger? Who are the right partners? Who are the right solution providers that can come alongside us and help us be even better at what we currently do?
Thanks, Tom. And which you brought in a good point. Who are our partners, right? So how would you pick a partner? And before we go into the pick a partner, I would say the even earlier step is, what areas, functional areas, would you focus on? And primarily, there's a lot that can be done. People talk about quick wins or low-hanging fruit, but these early wins really put the confidence in that direction, right, in that journey. So where would you start? What functional areas tools?
We have we've had a conversation over here about automating the easy stuff. Things that sometimes people will get caught up in saying, hey, look, this is easy enough for me to do, and they'll just do that thing. But those are the real opportunities to leverage technology. So like, for us, one of the digital tools that we actually were pretty quick to put in place was the tracking solution, LoadTrack. We used that because we saw growth in our business, we saw opportunity in that, but we were having to continue to increase manpower to keep up with the demand, right? You couldn't, we were kind of faced with this option of, okay, do we increase manpower so that we can keep up with customers' expectations, or do we reduce our standards when it comes to expectations on how much we actually know where the truck is? And, we had tried other solutions, and it became a conversation of, if we could kind of get this out of the way it would be a huge win for our team. And it really depends on your business because, like for us, we were looking for wins operationally. Our operations team drives so much of the value that we provide to our customers, and so we felt like our operations team could be more hands-on. They could be more influential with our customers and with what their supply chain initiatives are if we could get them out of the weeds of some of these things. And so, so for us, one of the quickest tools that we were able to put in place was literally just the idea of that asset tracking to really know where it was going to be, and if there was issues, then we could get involved. And that's just real exception management that we talk about a lot.
Thanks for again pointing out the very early step, right? I totally agree with you. The tools that generate more value operationally help your customers. They are easy to sell within the organization, which going to that second step, how do you find good partners in this journey?
Yeah, so we have taken I think a little bit of a different approach in how we've looked for partners, because I think what I've seen a lot of is people look for I need a piece of technology that checks everything off of my list right now. And there are technology providers that can do that in a lot of different ways. One of the things that we spend a lot of time trying to learn and trying to understand is the vision of that partner, that potential partner, I would say. What is it that they really want to do in the space? What is it that they plan on doing in the next 1 to 5 years? And then does that align with where we want to be corporately? Because you can look at a piece of technology, and if any of you have been looking in technology in this space in the last 5 years, you have seen the rapid change that has happened. Companies have rose and they've been able to bring immense value. Other companies have rose and quickly fell because they never really picked up the steam behind what they were trying to do. And so for us, it was really about finding who is the right partner and who do we believe is going to help us long term, who's going to continue to be innovative, continuing to challenge. We talk about, as a company, we talk about being restless a lot. We look for those type of partners who are going to be restless. Prasad, there's not a conversation that you and I have where we don't end up talking about some sort of significant change, some sort of significant shift. And the reason we do that is because we're partners in that way, right? We think that way. We see that opportunity in our industry. And that for us is one of the most important aspects of that partnership. And then, of course, it's on you to then deliver on that, right? To continue to push that passion. And so that's just a really important part. I think a lot of people can just get caught up into looking at presentations, looking at demos, looking at reviews, whatever it may be. But you really need, in my opinion, in this environment, you need to understand where that partner wants to go, and then you need to ask yourself, is that somewhere that I want to go?
I think, Tom, you mentioned a very important point here, and going back to our own conversations and conversations we had with customers like you, I think the best conversations as a vendor from our side is when a customer asks us, where are you going? What is your roadmap look like? How much of are you going to take my input into your roadmap? And I think, from a vendor point, vendors also want customers like, the 3PLs and brokers out there here in this space to be participating in the vendor's roadmap. Because when, as much as anyone thinks they know everything, we know for sure they don't know. And brokers and 3PLs have a very good pulse on where the market is going. And I go back to your point on, oftentimes we've pivoted a few times this way, that way, based on the feedback. And that helped us as a technology company to build a stronger roadmap. But we wouldn't be able to do it without the input from customers like you. I think that the value part is it goes both ways. It's a partnership in many ways. And we, even a vendor, from a vendor's point, they should like, we like our customers who are partners.
Yeah, and influence is one of the things that we always talk about. Like we want the opportunity to have some influence. Now, we're not asking to be able to sit behind the desk and tell you move this here and do this and do this, like, right? You know what I mean? It's not
Yeah.
like that. But to have some level of influence in those conversations, I mean, it becomes that, that vendor should be an extension of your team. It shouldn't be this separate dynamic where you don't engage. It literally should be like an extension of your team. And I just think that's just such an important element that you've got to look at when you're looking for the right partners in this space.
Yeah, what you said is right, and which also forces a vendor to be constantly innovating, because I think for a 3PL or a broker out there to bring in a vendor, technology vendor, it's not because technology vendor knows technology better than a 3PL or a broker. It's just that technology vendors have that consistent or constant responsibility to innovate, right? And you want to really be you want to make them accountable for that in many ways. You want that. And I like the way you use the word restless, and I've heard the word constantly being hungry to make something more every day. And those, I feel like those vendors always add more value. So we are in a space, we talk about technology a lot. The other side of the technology, in my viewpoint, is the support, the training, customer success. And how do you see these playing a role in this digital strategy for brokers?
Yeah, this is such an interesting topic to talk through because, I think so many people in this space are hungry for technology. And they want the latest, they want the greatest, they want the bells and the whistles, they want to be able to put it on their website, they want to be able to put it on their marketing slicks, they want all of that experience. But you can't have that experience, you can't market that experience without truly educating and teaching your team members what that means. And we've learned that in our own technological journey because, more than I do how quickly technology moves, right? And so, it's almost like as soon as you're training on one thing, oh wait, hold on, there's something else coming, so let's hurry up and train this because now I got to give you this. And the journey has to be collaborative. It has to go hand in hand. If you want to deploy technology, but you don't want to put in the effort on the training side, you're going to miss that opportunity to actually use the technology. One of the things that we did is we really picked our vendors. I mean, we didn't, there's times where we've heard other partner or other people in the space who will say, hey, I use this one, this one, this one, and this one for this specific need. And for us, you got to train your team members on all four of those if that's what you're going to do. And so we wanted to create a universal experience because we understand how difficult it is to have to train on all of those different systems. And so, training and education when it comes to rolling out a new piece of technology is just so incredibly important. And what I think has been good about the last year or so is typically the way that people have seen that training and they've said that this training needs to happen is by having someone sit at your desk and sit next to you. Well, the environment that we've been in, you haven't been able to have someone sit in your desk right next to you, right, and walk you through like that. And so I think we've all gotten better at using technology like this to be able to cross-train, to be able to do quick, 2-minute, 3-minute, 4-minute tutorials that really just helps elevate what your team is doing. But that's got to be continual. You can't, it's not a one and done. You have to kind of constantly be able to say, hey, look, we've made a tweak. Let me show you again how this works. You just got to reinforce that continually because it does move so quick.
You're right. And, I'll add one other point to this from a vendor side. Actually, training is very great, even for vendors too, because it gives us an opportunity to understand how our customers are using the product, or where there are gaps in the product. Where can we improve? What are the best practices that we can train our customers on? It's a constant feedback loop for the vendor also to see where the best practices and improvement should be. So I think training is a much bigger value than just getting people to know how to use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, we've always had the conversation, when you and I get on a call or when we talk to each other, conversations go, what else can we do? What else can we do? So which, people have always said, hey, I purchased this great technology. What's next, right? In my viewpoint, I think technology innovation is a constant journey. It's a constant everyday thing. How do you see this playing an important role, this aspect of technology adoption for digitizing 3PLs and brokers?
Yeah, I know you and I have talked about the challenge in the 3PL space regarding one load wonders, right? Those carriers that you get once and you never see them again, and trying to resolve that. I think we find a lot of people in this space who fall into the trap of being this, one solution wonders who they never move past. It's almost amazing to me that there are still people that are trying to figure out automated tracking, right? We've been talking about automated tracking for years. And the problem is once you're done with automated tracking, there's more. I mean, there's so much more. You start talking about digital freight matching. You start talking about all the components that are going to really drive efficiencies in your company. The reason why we're in this environment is because for 3PLs, the landscape has changed. There are 3PLs that I've spoke to for years that have experienced 15, 17, 18% margins in our business. And we're now seeing, I'm watching reports from other large players in the game that they're reducing their expectation to 7.5%, 8.5%, 10% margins is what they're shooting for in this business. Well, you don't get to that by just continuing to layer people into your processes. You have to find yourself constantly becoming more efficient, constantly employing these technological advances so that you can sustain, you can be here 10 years from now. The tech improvements that have happened in this industry, they are driving a significant shift in this business. And so, it's one of those things that you're either going to adopt and you're going to grow and you're going to expand and you're going to continue to do that, or you're going to die. You're not going to be able to survive the significant landscape change that we are seeing in this industry right now.
Yeah, I'll also share another data point. What we have seen in the last 12 months is those who have adopted technology have been growing their business in terms of volume or their bottom line, as opposed to those who are putting the technology on the back burner. I think those who adopted technology are seeing the growth. And the second mindset I would also say, Tom, everything you said is really great, and I second that thought on, without technology, it is extremely difficult, or constant innovation, it is extremely difficult for 3PLs and brokers to really compete in this world. I like the fact that you mentioned about the margins. They're not going to go up to those healthy margins as we move into the future. So, before we wrap up our session, Tom, any other closing thoughts?
Yeah, I just think, one thing that I would encourage organizations to do, if you're not, is to just really take some time, invest some resources into really watching and what's happening on the tech side in this world. We're very fortunate to have great partners like Trucker Tools and the team there, because you guys help us through that process. You help educate us what's happening. And it's so important that as you're going through this process, as you're looking to expand on how you use technology, and how you transform, it's not all about becoming a digitized broker all the time. You know, I think a lot of people get caught up on that. It's about leveraging the right tools to drive efficiency within your teams, to drive efficiency, make it easier to do business with your organization. That's what carriers are desiring, and that's what your team's desiring. Whether you believe it or not, they're hungry for that. And so, you know, I'm just really excited to see where things continue to grow over the next, 12 months. You know, there's more coming, and but you got to keep your eyes on what's happening out there in those markets.
Thank you very much, Tom. I really like the way you wrapped up the thought. It is not just trying to become a digital broker. It is just using technology to scale up. As always, you have great insights. We don't have enough time to go through all these questions, but anybody watching this, if they want to reach out to Tom, either you could reach out to him directly, or if you reach out to us at sales@Trucker Tools, we'll connect you with Tom and our team in helping you, strategize your digital strategy for your organization. And thank you all for joining us, and I'll hand it back to Tracy. Thank you, Tom.
All right, thank you, everyone.